Hello, this is Orange Sauce Productions, and today we will be talking about the Druid runes in World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. Most of these runes can be purchased at a rune broker at level 1, but some of them do require you equipping an idol and then meeting specific requirements in order to fully unlock the rune. These rune brokers are located at the beginning zone of every race, as well as every major city. With that being said, we're going to go through the rune names for each slot, and then we'll get into the descriptions, and then we'll get into what specs they work for best. I'm going to go ahead and throw the runes on the screen real quick. Go ahead and pause if you would like. With that, there are 8 slot items. Let's go ahead and start off with the first one, which is the chest piece. There are 4 options for the chest piece, which is Fury of Storm Rage, Wild Strikes, Survival of the Fittest, and Living Seed. There are 4 options for the leg runes, which are Life Bloom, Savage Roar, Lacerate, and Star Surge. There are 3 options for the feet slot, which include Dream State, Survival Instincts, and King of the Jungle. There are 3 options for the wrist spot, including Elun's Fires, Improved Frenzy Regeneration, and Efflorescence. There are 3 options for the cloak rune, which include Starfall, Improved Swipe, and Tree of Life. There are 3 options for the belt rune, which are Eclipse, Nourish, and Berserk. There are 4 options for the glove runes, which are Sunfire, Mangle, Wild Growth, and Skull Bash. And there are 3 options for the helmet rune, which include Improved Barkskin, Gale Winds, and Gore. As I mentioned earlier, these runes can be purchased from a rune broker, bypassing the whole discovery process, but you still have the option to go out and find them on your own if you truly desire. Now that you've seen the options available in the runes, let's go ahead and read the descriptions, starting off with the chest piece. Fury of the Storm Rage reduces the mana cost of Wrath by 100%, and each time you deal damage with Wrath, you have a 12% chance for your next healing touch to be an instant cast. Wild Strikes gives your cat, bear, and dire bear form an aura that's 100 yards wide that gives each melee member a 20% chance to grant an extra attack with 20% extra attack power. It does not stack with Wind Fury since Wind Fury grants 2 attacks. Survival of the Fittest reduces the chance that you'll be critically hit by melee attacks by 6% and reduces all damage taken by 10%. And in bear form and dire bear form, it increases or rather reduces it by an additional 10%. And last for the chest runes, we have Living Seed, which is when you critically heal your target with any non-periodic healing spell, you plant a Living Seed on the target for 50% of the amount healed. The Living Seed will bloom the next time the target receives any damage or a non-periodic healing effect, and the buff lasts for 15 seconds. Overall, Fury of the Storm Rage is for balanced druids, Wild Strikes is for feral druids that are DPS, Survival of the Fittest is for bear tanks or for PvP, and Living Seed is for resto druids. Then we move on over to the legs. We have Life Bloom, which gives you a passive, which reduces the global cooldown on your Rejuvenation and Life Bloom by 0.5 seconds. It also grants the Life Bloom ability, which is a heal over time that lasts for 7 seconds, and then once it is either dispelled or the duration ends, it'll instantly heal the target for an additional amount. The druid then gains half of the mana casted on the Life Bloom back as mana, and it can stack up to 3 times on one target, and you can spread it across multiple targets. And then we have Savaging Roar, which is a finishing move that increases physical damage done by 30% while in cat form, and the more combo points you spend on it, the longer the duration. Then we have Lacerate, which is a bear form ability, which does a 15-second thought, it does an impact damage, and it stacks up to 5 times and deals a large amount of threat while in bear form. And then we have Star Surge, which is an instant cast projectile that will deal a large amount of damage and cause the next one Starfire cast to deal an additional 80% damage. Talents and effects that trigger from Wrath and Starfire also affect Star Surge. Overall, Life Bloom is for our resto druids, Savage Roar is for our kitty druids, Lacerate is for our bear druids, and Star Surge is for our boomkins. Moving on to the boots, we first have Dream State, which causes your damaging direct spell critical strikes or any damage from Star Surge to grant you 50% of your mana regeneration for 8 seconds. It'll also increase your arcane and nature damage to the target by 20% for 12 seconds. We have Survival Instincts, which when activated grants you 30% of your maximum health, increases all non-physical healing that you deal by 20%, and both of those effects last for 20 seconds. It's usable in all forms except for Moonkin form. In addition, you generate 5 rage every time you dodge in bear form, 10 energy if you dodge in cat form, and 1% of your maximum mana if you dodge in caster form or tree form. And then last we have King of the Jungle, which causes your Tiger's Fury to increase all physical damage you deal by 15% rather than the flat value. It also instantly gives you 60 energy and is no longer on a global cooldown, but it has a 30-second cooldown. Overall, Dream State's going to be your option for a Boomkin unless you're going to be a Resto Druid and throw Star Surges. Survival Instincts is your option for a healing cooldown or for a Bear Druid, and then King of the Jungle is for our Kitty Druids. Moving on to the boot options, we have Ellune's Fire, which causes some of your damage over time and healing over time effects to increase in duration when you use another ability on it. So Moonfire will increase by 6 seconds when you cast Starfire, Sunfire will increase by 3 seconds when you cast Wrath, Rejuvenation will extend by 6 seconds when you cast Regrowth, and Rip will extend by 2 seconds when you cast Shred. We then have improved Frenzied Regeneration, which can now be used in all forms except for Moonkin form, or will not shapeshifted, and now converts your active resource into health every second for 10 seconds, up to a maximum of 10 rage, 10 energy, or 20% of your base mana will be converted into health per second, up to 10%. And up next we have Efflorescence, which is an extension of Swiftmend, and it causes your Swiftmend to have an AoE healing ability under the target that had Swiftmend placed on it. The AoE heal lasts for 15 seconds and has good overlap considering the cooldown of Swiftmend is 12 seconds. Overall, Ellune's Fire is your option for Boomkins, but it's a great option for Resto and Feral as well. Improved Frenzied Regeneration is a great option for Bear form, and Efflorescence is our option for Resto Druids. Up next, we have Cloaks. First option being Starfall, which summons a flurry of stars from the sky over 10 seconds, striking targets up to 36 yards away from your location, including if they're not in combat, so we'll pull additional things. Each star deals damage to other enemies that are within 6 yards. It'll deal 20 stars of damage. Shapeshifting or mounting cancels the effect, and any effect that causes you to lose control of your character will cause stars to not deal damage, but you will retain the buff. Benefits and triggers most talents and effects that trigger or benefit from Moonfire. And then we have Improved Swipe, which gives your cat form a swipe ability and causes your bear swipe to strike up to 7 additional enemies. Cat Swipe will grant 1 combo point. And last we have Tree of Life, which causes you to shapeshift into a Tree of Life. While in this form, you increase healing received by 10% for all party members within 45 yards. Wild Growth healing is increased by 60%. Healing over time spells cost 20% less, and you gain 25% increased spirit along with 200% additional armor. Overall, Starfall is your option for balanced druids. You could use it on a feral druid in a pinch. Improved Swipe is your option for feral DPS and for feral tanks. And Tree of Life is your option for resto. Moving on to the belt options, we have 3. First one is Eclipse. Starfire increases the critical strike chance of your next 2 Wraths by 30%, and Wrath reduces the cast time of your next Starfire by 1 second. Both effects stacking up to 4 charges. Both spells gain a 70% chance at all times to not lose casting time when you take damage, and Star Surge procs both of those effects. Up next we have Nourish, which heals a friendly target for a good chunk. It heals for an additional 20% if you have a healing over time ability on them, and the spell benefits from effects and triggers associated with Healing Touch and Regrowth. And last but not least, we have Berserk, which causes your bear form to cleave 3 targets with Lacerate and Mangle abilities, and causes Mangle to no longer have a cooldown and Lacerate to no longer cost rage. And while in cat form, all of your abilities are reduced by 50% energy. It clears all fear effects and causes you to be immune for the duration, which is 15 seconds. Overall, Eclipse is our option for Boomkins, Nourish is our option for Resto Druids, and Berserk covers both feral DPS and tanks. Moving on to the gloves, we have Sunfire, which is basically Moonfire but nature form. It gives you a Bear Fire version of it or a Bear Sunfire version of it that costs rage and does the same thing. And there's also a cat ability that gives you 1 combo point along with the same Sunfire effect. And the spell benefits from triggers that are associated with the Moonfire talents. Mangle is used in bear and cat form. It deals immediate damage and causes your target to take 30% additional from bleed effects and shred for 1 minute. This ability benefits and triggers from all effects associated with Claw and Maul. And then we have Wild Growth, which heals all target members in the party within 43 yards of the target player for a good chunk over 7 seconds. The amount healed is applied quickly at first. It slows down as Wild Growth reaches its full duration. This ability is great for if there are 2 or 3 people who are taking a lot of damage and who need a good chunk of healing while only needing 1 global. And then last we have Skull Bash, which is an interrupt that's 13-yard range and can be cast in either cat or bear form, but it does share a cooldown with Feral Charge. Overall, Sunfire is our ability for Boomkins, Mangle is our ability for both cat and bear DPS, and Wild Growth is our healing option, while Skull Bash is our rune for situations. And last we have our helmet runes. We have improved Bark Skin, which causes your Bark Skin to be able to be cast on allies and no longer penalizes melee combat speed or spell casting time, and it can also be casted while shapeshifting. Gale Winds increases the damage done by your hurricane by 100% and no longer has a cooldown while its mana cost is reduced by 60%. And last we have Gore, which causes your Last Rate and Swipe and Maul to have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown on Mangled Bear and gain 10 rage. But in cat form, it causes your Mangle and Shred to have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown of Tiger's Fury. Improved Barkskin is going to be our option for Resto Druids, Gale Winds is going to be our option for Boomkins, and Gore is going to be our option for both Feral DPS and tanks. You can do some interweaving between Boomkin and Resto runes, but for the most part they'll stay put. As I mentioned earlier, these runes can be obtained through the Rune Broker, which is in every starting zone as well as every major city, but some of them may be gate-kept behind idols. While I've given my recommendations about what you can use each rune for in each spec, you're free to do whatever you want, and just have fun, be creative. You don't even have to be creative. Just go press new buttons. I recommend buying the runes. It makes the game feel so much smoother than it did in Classic WoW. I, for one, am glad that they decided to make the runes available from a vendor instead of needing to go out and do the additional new things that they've added. While it's new content and I appreciate that, the thing that I actually appreciate is being able to hodgepodge some runes together. Druid doesn't have a lot of options, but I have been playing with Mage, and it seems like fire and like the spell casting between Frost and Arcane and Fire and Frost associate with 2 spell schools, so you're able to mix and match more things. And same thing with Warlock. So I will be getting into those videos at some point. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Peace out, I guess.